Super Soul Sisters, yet another amazing episode, and I must say I am glad we are back to share and have a conversation, because my Super Soul sister today is a philanthropist, an economist, a politician, and indeed speaks for women empowerment, not just because she's a woman, but because she finds it necessary. Now, so many times people wonder why we keep bringing up these topics, but Super Soul Sisters like this help us realize that we're making strides, and it's important. With me is Honorable Amelia Kyambadde, and I know with the energy she has, we've been having a conversation the whole time. I've never met anyone this social and free. Okay, yes. And it does help me see things differently. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Amelia Kyambadde.
Yes.
And I'm glad to be called a Super Soul Sister. You know, soul music started in the 50s,
yeah, when
I was born.
Oh, nice.
And it was really music,
yes,
for the soul.
For the soul.
So to be a Super Soul Sister, I'm really a sister for the soul.
Yes, that is true.
Yes.
And thank you for making time with us. We are honored. But one would wonder, because this is why we're here, to have this conversation, get to know you better, the people watching, the young girls watching, to get to know that, yes, hey, I can do this as well, you know?
Yes.
And we're in a time where it's not just about pushing for women empowerment, yes, but indeed giving stories like this as an example.
Yes.
So when we talk about Amelia Kyambadde, who are we talking about?
Amelia Kyambadde was born to two young people who were supposed to be students in England. One was Mary Kafarika, the mother, and the father was Serrano Kulubia. And I would like to say they got a bit mischievous, and I was a product of their mischief. Yeah. I don't think they regretted that. And that was in June. I was born in June 30th, yes, in 1955, in Guildford in Surrey. And I lived there with my father as a student. My mother went her ways. And when I was about 5 years, my father finished his course, yes, as a lawyer, and came back to Uganda.
Okay.
I came back with my father. So this entire
time you lived with only your father?
I lived only with my father. My mother moved on. And she got somebody else.
She got someone, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you didn't know her at the time? You didn't have a relationship?
No, I didn't know her in the first 5 years. But later, I got to know her when I was in primary school.
When you were in primary school, okay.
But it was basically
your
my
father.
Yes.
Okay. So he finishes with school, he moves to Uganda. Of course, he's moving back with you.
Yes.
What was that experience like? I don't know if that was too young to identify.
No, 5 years is old enough.
Yes.
Well, coming to Uganda, of course, I met my grandparents, my father's parents, who are also very important people in this country.
Yes.
My grandfather was the first mayor of Kampala, nice, first black mayor. He was also a minister of finance in Buganda government. But he was also deputy speaker of parliament.
Parliament, nice.
First black. And he was called Serrano Kulubia. My grandmother was a housewife. So coming to that home was comfortable. I cannot complain.
Yes, yes.
But when my father came back after a year, he married a daughter of a bishop called Marjorie Balia, who I lived with.
Yes.
Both, I would live with my grandparents.
And also.
Home. And our home was here in Nakasero.
Oh, that's okay. That's close.
Because at that time, my father was working as a lawyer, but he worked in Fort Portal briefly, but then I came and worked here in High Court.
Okay. So this must have been different, having so many people around you compared to when it was just you and your dad, and he was probably busy.
Of course, it was a shock. I remember I asked a funny question.
Yes.
They keep reminding me about some of the things I used to ask. Why are there so many black people?
Because it was new to you.
I think I didn't realize that we were also black.
Yes. Yeah.
But I would ask, and then I would ask questions like, why does it get so dark? But as a child who's been exposed to another life,
That is true.
of course, that is expected.
Yeah.
So I lived with them, did a bit of primary, nursery in Aga Khan. But then the grandparents realized that I was too much of a Mzungu.
And you needed to adjust.
And my grandmother decided that they should take me to a boarding school.
Ah, okay.
But during that time, of course, my stepmother was having children. I had siblings who are now currently living away. I had 4 siblings with my stepmother.
Oh, okay.
2 of them are in America, 1 in Kenya, and 1 is in Arusha.
Okay.
So now going to a boarding school, the selection was Gayaza Junior School. Remember now I'm about 6 years, 6, 7, because I stayed home. Remember I stayed home a bit. I did a bit of Aga Khan. They selected as my grandparents and my parents to take me to Gayaza. Gayaza Junior School was, of course I was excited going away, and I thought now I'm going to be independent.
I would have thought you'd be worried because it's boarding school.
Of course, but then I didn't know what it was all about. I thought someone was going away for a holiday.
Yes.
So I get to Gayaza Junior School. First of all, that building was so old. The whole environment shocked me. Then you had, I saw these kids wearing, all of them wearing uniforms. You know, we looked like prisoners, actually. And I would liken it to a prison because you're not supposed to come near the gate, you're not supposed to talk to your parents, you're not supposed to, you're supposed to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're supposed to dig, to peel. All these things were shocks as far as I was concerned.
Yeah. And you'd learned to speak
the language was a problem because remember, I couldn't speak Luganda very well.
Yes.
So they teased me. Of course, that one actually had to be so much, but it put me also in a fighting spirit.
Yeah,
to make sure that I learned the language immediately. So speaking, they couldn't understand my English. I couldn't, Luganda I could, well, not so well. But they would tease me.
You were young, you'd been away for so long.
They would tease me, Chine Chizungu, you know, wherever you'd go, they would just call you names. But eventually, I acclimatized with the entire environment, became happier. But what I discovered there, when I was about 8 years, I discovered that some kids would come to school without anything. And that came very early in my life, to know that there are disparities amongst us. Yeah. Some are well off, some are not. And I think that is where my philanthropy started from, because I started giving, donating. That's true. And I would go home without anything. I remember one time they came to see me and they found me in 2 slippers. One was blue, one was red. And they asked me where my shoes were. Of course, I didn't want to tell them.
Yes.
But I would go home with an empty suitcase. If at all the suitcase goes.
Yes.
Because sometimes they'll find you with only a kavera, because everything is gone. Then eventually my father said, I think that's how she's going to be.
Yes.
Yeah, let's just leave her.
You never got in trouble for it?
Of course I was in trouble. You would threaten, you'd go back to school like that, I'm not giving you anything. But I wanted to be like them so much. that going without anything
was okay.
Was okay with me. Because they would bring food stuff, I would give away everything. I would not retain anything. But eventually he learned to live with it, and they accepted it, and they said, well, that is how she is. So I always tell people that a person's personality is shaped right from when they are growing up.
That's true.
Because that is how I went into politics afterwards. Otherwise, I didn't want anything in politics, but I wanted to give. To give.
So, but then, while you were doing all of this and adjusting with school, how was it like? Because now the system is different. It's all new environment for you. What was that like?
I'm a type of person who fits in very, very fast, very quickly, who adjusts to situations. I was a member of all these clubs. Whenever they would open up a club, I'm there, I'm the head. English, Uganda, mathematics, geography.
Uganda, the one you were...
Yeah, Uganda. You know, I had to prove a point.
Yes, yeah.
I'm normally a fighter. I always want to fight and show that I can manage, I can do it. So I fought so hard with my Uganda, although it was broken in the first, it was so broken. It's taken me so many years. I remember even when I went into politics, I would make speeches in funny Luganda, they would laugh. But eventually I managed to fit into the society.
The society, yes.
I excelled. I was in the drama club.
Nice.
Drama, I like acting.
Yes.
Humor. I hated mathematics. Luganda.
Most of us.
So I found girls are quite interesting. But I learned a lot. How to prepare food.
Yes.
How to dig. How to, you know, all those household chores. And how to be a woman.
That is true.
Yeah.
They're very, very known for...
It has shaped my life, I must say. Gaza has really shaped my life as a person in society.
So this whole time, you've still not met your mother?
No, my mother surfaced when I was about in P5, I think I was going to P6.
Oh, okay.
P5, around there, I was, it was my birthday. And normally my parents would come, my grandparents would come, my father and stepmother, we used to call her Kiki, would come. May their souls rest in peace. So I knew I had two sets of visitors. And of course I used to look forward to the grab.
Yes.
And I would have an entourage of friends waiting for me to take the grab. Waiting there. But this time round, they called me, the headmistress called me that I had a visitor. So I go to the gate and I don't see a familiar vehicle there. Until I saw a little car parked alone there. Came in very funny hours. I think it was quite late in the afternoon. And I walked up to the car and I see this lady, beautiful lady. And I said, who is this? Then she introduces herself and she says, I'm your mother.
Oh.
Of course, it came as a shock.
Yeah, I mean,
because
yes.
I knew my mother was Akiki. I knew my mother was my grandmother. You know, I had all these loving people around me.
Yes.
But of course, there were so many questions in my head. Where has she been all these years?
But you didn't ask her those questions, did you?
I didn't ask her, but I asked my father. My father is not very kind to her. He just said, just forget about her.
Yeah.
So, of course, that is all confusion for a young girl of that age.
Yes.
But then I knew there is someone out there who's supposed to be my mother.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you connect from?
We tried to connect. But of course, there were inhibitions. She wouldn't come to see me. I wouldn't go to see her because of my father. My parents wouldn't let me go. But eventually we did catch up.
So anything in particular you do remember in primary school that you feel it's probably one of those moments that you find the cheeky moments for you, or where you look back and laugh so hard and say, did I really do this? Yeah.
I used to have a house mother who used to look after me. You know, they would give her money for my food.
Yes.
To prepare for me a special meal. And she'd make sure that I sit in her room and eat it.
And eat it. Because you would probably go.
But what I would do, I would hide the food and give it out to the others. So all these kids knew. They would hang around somewhere near her house. So when I would go out pretending to wash the plate, I would give out that food. And she would wonder, because I would take a lot of food. She would because she would know we are going to sit together and eat, I would take the entire dish and give out the food. So it took her some time for her to realize that, I was actually give away food. Another thing was they used to take us for digging. But I used to find digging very, very hard. So I started pretending that I was ill, that I was not feeling well. So that when they go to dig, they leave me in bed. They leave you behind, yes. So one day the house mother insisted, and I went, and I said, let me at least hurt myself. And so that I don't dig anymore. But eventually, I hurt myself. I still have the scar. Well, I hurt myself, but I was ill for some time. The third one was of Kalabanda.
Those stories in school.
Those stories in school. I don't know whether you've heard about them. At night. Up to today, yes. I'm still wondering, who were they?
Probably other students.
You think there were other students?
Yes. I always believed it's other students who would walk around and scare their friends.
Because they would come, they would walk in the middle of the night, and they would walk actually like ghosts. Like as if, you know, they were bones, as if it was a skeleton. So I used to be sweat, and I'd be so scared.
Sleep, and
they would come and slap you, and you'd think it is Kakalabanda for real. But up to today, I do not know whether they were real. But I think they were they real or what?
I'm convinced it's other students.
You think it's other students? But why would they do that to us? So anyway, those were stories in the primary school. Anyway, I did my and I went to, they decided to take me to a boarding school. I had chosen Aga Khan as a...
Again, because you wanted to go back.
I wanted to go back. And these people didn't want me, my parents didn't want me to go to Aga Khan. Yes. So they took me to Gulu, Sacred Heart, Gulu.
That's for your secondary now?
Yes. Sacred Heart was a beautiful school, Italian owned, and they were Italian sisters, so we're eating very well. Everything was, it was a paradise, and I made a lot of friends there. Dormitories were excellent, we had everything, really. It's just that distance. Yeah. But what's surprising, the father never told me that he was taking me there. We traveled. So
you thought you were going for some kind of trip?
Yeah, I thought it was a holiday. We stopped in Jinja. I was happy. I said, but no, this is a holiday. So from Jinja, there was a hotel called Crested Crane. And I had my room. And then we traveled from there. We moved until we got to Gulu. We went straight to the office, and he told me that this is going to be your school. Your school, Oh, my God. It was terrible. I cried, but anyway, the sisters were very kind to me. They received me, and I became a student there.
At Sacred
Heart? For 4 years, yes.
Oh, nice. What was
Sacred
Heart like?
Was a school that really looked after us and fed us and all that. But I think circumstances changed during Amin's time. And they started giving us kaunga. At home, I used to see kaunga being given to dogs. I remember my father had dogs, and the kaunga was for dogs. Actually, things have changed. Now people, we are eating kaunga here. But I thought it was a dog's food. How could they give us dog's food?
And you're wondering how is the school?
Really? Yes. So I said, no. We're not going to have this. So I talked to some of my friends. I said, how can they give us dogs food? No. We have to demonstrate. I said,
the leader came out
so I'm the ringleader. So I said, we have to demonstrate. Kawunga. And beans.
And beans.
Beans with weevils.
Yes.
No way. So that day they served us and everything. So we soaked the kawunga in the weevil, in the beans.
In the beans, yeah.
Had heaps everywhere. So at night, my team were ready.
So you didn't have your supper, you sat and waited?
No. Oh, you could have seen me skimming. You know, skimming is very stressful. I don't know why how do people survive skimming. I did not even concentrate in class.
Because you had a plan.
I was thinking of that. And yet I was a very good student. But you know how I could even think of that? I don't even know.
Yeah.
So at night when it got dark, we gave ourselves portions in saucepans. You know, we used to wash the saucepans and the plates.
Yes.
So we gave ourselves portions. So we started throwing it on the windows. And, pia. In the morning, the sister woke up and found the whole place in a mess.
A mess. I can imagine.
In a mess. But these stupid girls were shouting, calling each other names. Who and who. For me, I was quiet. But I got scared in the middle of the operation. Now I said, how do I reverse this? It was dark. We had switched off the lights.
Yeah.
I could not reverse the operation. So for me, I ran and entered my bed. These stupid fellows were still there shouting. They got them red-handed.
You left.
Sister came with a torch, found me snoring. My hands were full of beans and said, oh, Amelia is sleeping, this wonderful girl. See, she's not even involved in this. So these stupid girls, most of them were sacked.
Yeah.
They were dismissed, suspended. Nobody revealed the fact that I was the ringleader.
Oh, wow.
Up to today, I still ask myself why.
Why?
But eventually, I went and told the headmistress that I was part of it. But I don't know why she didn't want to believe me.
No, but she found you sleeping. She thought you're trying to help a couple of people.
So that was also a naughty part of it. Another part that I'll never forget is the issue. There was a girl who used to steal people's lingerie, underwear. And the father was called, I'm sorry to mention her, I don't know whether she's still alive. She was called Onek. Onek was a senior person in the army, but very rough. So this girl was as rough, I think she had inherited, genetically had inherited
the father.
Yes.
Wait.
So everybody feared her. She would enter the class, nobody moves near her, you know. So I told, I realized that she had stolen my lingerie because it was hanging behind her bed. I said, for me, I'm going to attack her.
I'm going.
So I walked. Then my team was there. You know, you always have people
backing you up, but when the day reaches.
But they were in the windows. So I walked up to her. I said, I know you stole my panties and they are on your bed. I saw them. You should stop doing that. Ha! Before I even finished the last sentence.
In the face.
The girl just boxed me. I don't remember what happened next. I was on the floor. I found myself in a sick bay.
That was a serious one.
I found myself in a sick bay. But that girl was a terrorist that people feared even to visit me. They'll just come and they'll make sure she doesn't know that they visited because she would threaten them. Anyway, those are some of my experiences. And did my A-level in Aga Khan.
Oh, you finally went to Aga Khan.
Yeah, I went to Aga Khan for my A-level, yes.
Okay. But still here in O-level, you loved...
O-level, I was all around. I was a very good student, but I hated math.
Okay.
Even in primary.
Even in primary, yes.
I hated math, but I was excellent. I was always the best in English, from primary up to my master's.
English was
my best. English. Of course, we didn't have Luganda now in Sacred Heart. Geography was very good.
Yeah.
History, I was actually the leader of those clubs. I would come up with ideas.
But these are multiple things.
Yes.
How do you get to do all these things? You know,
I really do multitasking. I'm good at that.
It is your
yes, and I remember it has always been a complaint of my parents that you can't multitask all the time, you know. But I've always been good at that. Scripture Union, I was also a member, but I was not very committed. They used to complain about it. Because they used to meet for fellowship every time. And I thought they were really taking a lot of time. But then, being a Catholic school, Catholic sisters didn't try to discourage
the Scripture Union.
The Scripture Union, because Scripture Union was more of a Church of Uganda.
Yes, that is true. Now, of course, we're still here with Honorable Amelia and Kyambadde. Super Soul Sisters, we're here at Daughter-H exclusive. They're giving us this amazing space. And we shall be right back for a whole lot more and discussing now what happens after Sacred Heart. Daughter-H exclusive, and they've given us the amazing space on Ginger Road. They have amazing furniture. And we're seated right here with our Super Soul sister, Honorable Amelia Kyambadde. We're now going to continue because we had talked about now you finishing your senior 4, leaving Sacred Heart. How did you manage to convince your parents this time around to go to Aga Khan?
I didn't. I did it secretly.
Secretly?
Yes. You know, you fill in your forms. They found out afterwards.
Yes.
When the offers were coming up from the schools, and they called me and said, "An Aga Khan?"
Yeah.
And they said, they were trying to refuse, but I said, let me start. It's only 2 years.
It's only
let me start.
Yeah.
So at that time, my grandparents were living near the school, so they said I should stay with her, with them, so that I'm able to go to school, so that I'm near.
Yeah.
So now I start my A-level. When we were electing leaders. Can you imagine electing me as a head girl?
Immediately?
Immediately.
Oh, wow.
As soon as we started. So I was a head girl. And there was one boy called Charles Asea, who was a head boy. Asea was very quiet. I think he was chosen because of his quietness. But I compensated for that, for my rowdiness.
Yes.
So, but I was very popular because whenever they got into mischief, I would protect them.
You would, yeah.
So I was there for 2 years. I was doing history, economics, geography, and fine arts. But at day school, my God, it's like you are coming from prison. Liberty. Just after school, you go with your friends, you enjoy, you go here, you go there.
Yeah.
We had fun. But at that time, security was very tight because of Amin's people. You know, they used to discourage us. They would finish school early because they wanted people to get home early because of the insecurity that was there. Yes. But for us, we would go and hang out with friends. And
you still insisted anyway.
We still insisted. We were just naughty. So then towards the end of the second year, that's when I met, you know, we're talking about soul. At that time, soul music was everything. Yes. Then I met my husband. I told you he looked like Richard Roundtree. You remember that film called Shaft? I don't know whether you know Richard Roundtree. Do you know him?
I've seen photos.
I'll show you a photo. I'll show you a photo, then you know. Photo of so he managed to convince me. It was not hard. It was not easy. Of course, I wasn't very easy to convince. Yeah. You know, when you're a teenager, you start losing interest in studies and all that. Yeah. So I remember I told my father, I said, no, I don't want to go to university. He said, no, I'll take you abroad. I said, okay, you take me. But you know, going abroad, it was a process. You have to wait. You have to. But then eventually said, no. But you cannot say you don't want to go for further studies. Yes. You do at least secretarial training. You must have some form of certificate. Yes. So he took me to Nairobi, and I did my secretarial training. But apparently when I got there, Mr. Roundtree, Shaft also, managed to follow me around. Yeah. I got pregnant. As naive as you are, you know, sometimes you're not even very careful. Yeah. So I got pregnant and had my first daughter.
And here you were already doing your secretary studies.
I'm doing my secretary studies.
Yes.
There's so many things happening in my life. Finish? Yes, I just started.
Ah, okay.
So I had a wedding in my holidays, imagine.
You had to have a wedding.
Yes, he decided he wanted to marry me. Married me in Amelia Cathedral.
And your parents were okay with that?
Oh, no. Oh. I still remember the look of my father at the wedding. The guy was just crying like a baby. He was not happy at all. But he had no choice. I had taken a decision. Yes. Because I really wanted my baby.
Yeah.
So I got married in Amelia Cathedral. And I now have 6 children.
Oh, nice.
The eldest.
That's quite a journey, considering
it's quite a
how
journey.
It started.
But you have not had the number of grandchildren. You haven't had them yet.
How many?
11.
Wow. Wow.
I shouldn't have told you that. But no, they are sets. They are twins of sets. Two sets. Yeah, there are 2 sets.
So I'm beginning to imagine now. Your father has convinced you to go to school. Then he gets the news. How do you even approach him to tell him, okay, now I think I'm pregnant and I think I want to get married to this man?
No, he was very angry. Very angry with my husband, very angry with me, very angry with all of us.
Yes.
He tried to talk me out of it, but...
He was worried, of course.
He was worried. He thought I was still very young. Yeah. Of course I was young because I was 18, 17, 18. That's a very young person.
Young. Yes.
Anyway, I did my secretary training.
You eventually went back.
But yes, I went back. I was staying in. He came over, tried to convince me out of it, but it was too late. Staying in the hostel, but eventually I stayed in an apartment. He supported us. Then when my husband married me, he said, "You take over your family."
Yes.
I came back here and started working for him. Now I'm working now work experience. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Started working for my father's chambers. He was an advocate, Colby and Company advocate, so on Ginger Road here. Now remember I'm married. Remember I have a kid.
Child. Yes.
And I had a second one immediately. But while working for him, that's when all these troubles were happening, you know. I mean, I think...
got worse at the time.
I got worse. I mean, we were thrown out. Then our President 7 came in with NRA at that time.
At the time, yes.
And with the Tanzanians, I remember an incident where these Tanzanians were entering people's houses and robbing them. I'm sorry to say this, they are our friends, but it's a fact, it happened.
It happened.
And my husband just bought me a small car and I saw it was stolen by the Tanzanians. They actually got it from our compound. And it was parked at UBC, at your offices out there, Radio Uganda. So people kept telling us...
So they would just take things and move on like nothing happened?
Watches, TVs, what? You know, they would just steal anything. So someone said, you know what? There's only one person who can help you. That everybody fears these Tanzanians. And that person happened to be Honorable Museveni. At that time, he was a Honorable.
Yes.
He was a Minister of Defense. But of course, there was scarcity of essential commodities. Salt, sugar. All these things were not there. That's what I always tell Ugandans, that Uganda has changed so much. People used to line up to get these essential commodities. Just a letter to change money. If you have $200, you want to buy for an exchange, even if you want to buy 500 shillings. You had to line up to get $500. You had to line up. You had to look for a minister to write a letter for you. Oh, wow. Ugandans do not know that we have come from that. So I lined up. I lined up for 2 days.
2 days?
Yes. You'd come today, then tomorrow.
Because
the line was so long. Some want soda. Can you imagine someone wants a crate of soda? Or 10 crates for a wedding. You have to get a letter. Bread. Because there was scarcity. Cement, 5 bags of cement. Minister. Wow. You remember there was even a Minister of Supplies, a Piriga.
Yes.
Yes, there was a Minister of Supplies.
Wow.
But Ugandans have forgotten all this.
All the Ugandans don't, they don't seem to know.
They don't seem, I think we don't tell them.
Yes.
So anyway, I was one of those people who were lining up for sugar,
for 2
foreign
days.
exchange, cement.
Now imagine, so if your wedding was like next week, you'd have to go like a week early.
A week? A month? Because then in the factory, you also have to book.
You have, oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
The factory didn't have sufficient stock.
That's true. Okay.
You know?
Now that
but people now are having it so good. They don't know. So anyway, eventually I got there. I explained my problem. And he said, okay, you go, take this letter. Of course, I had to go back to pick the letter. I don't want to go into it's a long process. Then I went back and picked the car. They were so scared that I had managed to access him because he was rare. He was also as rare as the commodities. Then, but he wanted a secretary so badly. He said, can you get me a secretary? I said, I looked around. People had gone to Nairobi with. Nobody wanted.
Nobody wanted to. They feared because it was security office or something? Yeah,
security, and then of course he wasn't very confident with people who had been around.
Yes.
So eventually he gave me, I started working, but partially. I work at my father's and here.
And also, yeah.
Then eventually I started working in defense. From defense, we went to...
So you left your father's chamber?
I eventually left my father, of course. We have always had our quarrels. May he so rest in peace.
Those ones are bound to happen.
Well, I left because he wasn't happy. He told me, you are going to become a politician. Politics is not good for him. Was not political.
He was worried about you getting into that space.
Yes. Said once you get into that space, you are going to be a politician inevitably. And you're going to suffer. People are going to abuse you. You're going to, you know... And I remember the things he told me. I think those are things that actually I've been witnessing. Yes. So I started working from defense. We went to regional corporation. They sent us out of defense, went to regional corporation. From regional corporation, went to military commission. I'm still working for the same person.
Same person, yes.
Military commission, that's when we went for elections. Elections, 1980. Elections, now remember I'm working both in the party and the office, in the office. UPM. They defeated us very badly. I think we got only one vote.
So
in the whole country. After working so hard.
I can imagine that feeling.
After having sleepless nights.
Yes, I can imagine that.
But it was something very new.
Yes.
So the people didn't have time to appreciate it. That is when this country went into chaos.
Around, because of the elections?
Because of the elections, they started arresting all of us. All of us were working for president.
Yes.
Some were killed. I know some of my colleagues were killed. Others were arrested. Now we started going into hiding. We were living on Buganda Road. So we moved our family from there and went to the village to hide. To hide? Yeah, because they were looking for us. And as a key person, because for me, I'd worked for him for a long time. And they knew I knew his secrets. And I was a target. My father said, you know, you have to leave this country. But it was almost impossible. But for him, he was saying I should go alone. I said, no, I'm going with my children. So my husband had to, you know, there was, even traveling, you had to get a special letter from Ministry of Internal Affairs. You know, people say there is no freedom. There's no freedom. They don't know what we went through. This was one way of stopping people from going. That is true. And kill them from here. There was Pandagari. Yes. Actually, the whole country was in tears. Suffering. I remember one thing when I was hiding in the village. The army people came. I was seated in the room, and my kid, my eldest daughter, was about 3 years, was sitting on a pot. A pot. Yes. You know potty? Yes, I remember I took off. I left my child there. And I don't even want to remember it. When I got into the banana plantation, I started telling these people who were running, bring my child. They said, you will have another one, let us run.
Oh, that must have been quite a moment.
No, I had to go back. Yes. So I got back, I found this army man standing over her. This kid was crying, seated on the pot, and this man had a gun, and was standing there. You know, they used to kill these kids. But in the room next door, there was an old woman. These army men were raping the old woman. The woman was almost 80.
Oh, dear.
So I was her savior. You know what I did? My head worked very fast. And then I told them, hey, my brothers, my brother is there fighting in Kampala. Your colleague. Said, your colleague, yes, he's in the army. My husband is in the army.
Nice.
So now what are you doing to us? Then this one started shouting to the others in Swahili. Hey, yini ndugu, yini yetu, this is our person. This is the wife of our person. Let's go, let's go. That's how I saved everybody.
Wow. And that was also a risk.
Hey, it was a risk.
Oh, wow.
Then they said, okay, now that you are wife of our brother, give us a shirt. We are running away from the war. Give us your husband's shirts. We want to change. They removed their combat, and I gave them my husband's shirts. They were there.
Yes.
Trousers. They went and buried the guns. They were cowards also. They were running away. They buried the guns in the banana plantation. Now I'm traveling. I'm going to Sweden. A friend of mine says, come to Sweden.
You'll be safe.
You'll be safe. As then we started trying to forge papers. You had to forge them.
Yeah, because if you went through the right means.
Now
then,
the airport episode. So now he said the documents are here. Let's get the children. We are leaving. We get to the airport. We passed the first stage immigration, the first immigration desk. Now we go to the second. They had created a second desk there.
Yes. Just in case.
That one actually was more of a security, I think, arrangement. So when I got there, they got my, you know what they would do? They look at your documents, then they put you aside. So there was a group of young girls all seated there crying, men, young men, girls, crying and begging. But what they would do, they put you aside, a truck comes, Pandagari, then they take you to an unknown destination. Up to today. The parents who are looking at me, some of you do not even know where your children are. They stopped there. So this man picks my passport. My passport, that's where all my children were in, my passport. Carries the children, puts them aside, tells me, go and sit down there and join the others. So I started begging with them. But as I was begging, I lifted my eyes and I saw this young officer who was supposed to be their boss, standing in a corner like that. Like this, I remember he was standing. And our eyes met. When our eyes met, I knew he is going to finish me. Because at that time he was working for Ito Jok, and Ito Jok was the one hunting for us. But this boy walked over, said, where is the passport of this lady? Picked my passport, then came up to me. He was, what I remember about him is that he was not smiling. He did not show any form of recognition. Yes. But this is a young man I used to joke with in the office. He would come. Yes. He would say, my sister, give me tea, give me tea, give me bridge. You know, my boss is going out. So we would joke a lot. Yeah. So he says, you know what? Pick your child and we go and just run. I said, run? Run where now? Because I knew now this man is going to kill me. Because he was emotionless. He wasn't showing any. So he picked two kids. I picked one. You ran. He had my passport. We started running. Now I don't even know where we are running. He said, you just leave your belongings. Just pick your handbag. Just leave them. So we ran. But he's communicating on a radio call. The gate is closing of Sabina Airlines. It is closed. But he communicated. He took us right up to the plane. They opened. And we entered. And I was shaking. Wow. But still, I was not secure until the plane took off. So we entered with the children. But unfortunately, I've never seen that young man again. He saved my life. So the plane took off, and as soon as it took off, I just started crying. Relief, yeah. Cry of relief. Yeah. So I left. Went to Sweden, got to the border, they were talking about Uganda, bloodshed, how people are dying. They had stopped me from entering, but when they saw the news, it's the way God creates things.
Yeah.
So, then fortunately, I had stitched my identity card in my jacket, in my hem.
Of the scars,
Yes,
yeah.
to show that I'm connected to the regime that is being hunted or persecuted. And when I showed them that I was a secretary to the Minister of Defense, that's how we entered.
Yes. And you were there how long?
Almost 6 years.
Ah, okay.
Yes. So we were granted asylum, the children started school, and life. But I did not rest.
Yes.
I never rest. We realized that Scandinavia did not know much about this war.
Yes.
So we created awareness, and we formed an external wing. And that external wing comprised of Honorable Rugunda, Honorable Mama Mbabazi, Edith Sempala, myself, Andrew Kameraho. Then that wing started supporting people in the bush. And my husband was also part of it.
Part of it.
So they would travel to Kenya.
And back.
Take the things to Kenya, money, clothes, medicine, uniforms, and then those things. So I'm a fighter, and I have my medal here. So this shows that I'm actually one of the fighters
That is good.
that fought for the liberation of this country.
You did.
It was so much we suffered in Sweden. I don't think we ever had a meal as a family on the table. At night, the whole night, I would be cleaning the house, cooking, washing, ironing. My husband goes out to work. You don't see him. He comes in the morning. You're supposed to take kids to school. Then you're also supposed to work. What kind of work? Because I remember I used to study. I studied Swedish. I studied in office management in Swedish. But then the type of work I was doing, you cannot believe it. I would work in a factory. All these Ugandans who live abroad, they come here in suits and tell you lies that to a day or they pretend that they have been doing working. They are struggling.
Yes.
Any black person, you know, soul sister means a black soul.
Yes.
Any black person in a white country is suffering. Because I remember I worked in a factory, packing crisps. People see you here and they don't know what you go through.
They don't know what you go through, yes.
Yes. My husband washed plates in a restaurant. So much. I worked in a bank, cleaning. Well, because you are black. Even if you have the qualifications. At that time, but now things are improving.
Maybe, yes.
They're beginning to realize that blacks are also human beings. So now I come after about 6 years. Now I keep having babies. That didn't stop my biological system from functioning. So I continued having babies there. Then in '86,
you're back.
I'm back. So I remember after looking for a job for a long time, my assistant told me, "Oh, I got you a good job. Congratulations, Amelia, I've been looking for a job. I have got a good job for you." So I get there, it says, "Okay, you are going to work as a tram driver."
Oh, wow.
Tram driver are like small trains
yeah.
that are in the town.
And you're thinking, that's the good job?
For them, they thought it was good. No, of course, it's just fooling me. It's not a good job, of course. So why I'm bringing this out is I'm trying to tell people that home is best.
It's best.
Patriotism pays. If you go abroad and start disqualifying your country, you're actually bringing shame on yourself. After some time, I got a call and I was called and I started working in State House.
Oh, nice.
But when I got there, I realized I had to go for further education because I really, the challenges.
You had to fit
the challenges were too much. So that's when I did my diploma in administrative procedures. I did my degree, BBA. I did my master's.
All of this while you're working?
While I'm working.
So now you progress, you're now more qualified, of course, coming with better opportunities in this case. When you decided, now, I am going to go into politics because I need to help people more.
I cannot say that I ever planned to be a politician. I think it came in as a by the way, or an accident. My drive was philanthropy, to help people, to transform their lives. So that is how I started Twezimbe Development Foundation.
Oh, yes.
So I started Twezimbe in 2007 or 8. But then I realized there was no way I was going to work in an office like that, but also manage an NGO.
Yes.
It was like a conflict of interest. Because I realized people were responding to it so much, but because you have that powerful position of a PPS, because I was appointed as a principal private secretary after my master's.
Yes.
And that's when I decided to go into politics, because politicians also didn't want to see me doing things in their areas.
That is true.
And became a member of parliament for Maokota North.
Indeed.
Yes.
And this, as we speak, is where we are right now after that entire journey. And then, of course, taking on a whole section of trade.
When I became a member of parliament, little did I realize that I would bounce back into public life as a Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. I was appointed as a minister, but of course I found a lot of challenges in the ministry. I found that the entire sector of trade industry was dwindling. They had issues, so many issues. For example, the traders were held hostage by Kasita.
Yeah.
Whenever there was anything, Kasita would rebel, issues. Then I realized that most of the businesses were not formalized. It was an issue we had to go through. I came in and I found that there was still scarcity of some of our products. For example, sugar, cement.
That's true.
I realized that the regional markets were not as organized as they should have been.
Yes.
So in my 10 years as a Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, we registered a number of achievements. We formalized the MSMEs, the micro, small and medium enterprises. We consolidated trade with the region, East African community. We worked on the African Continental Free Trade Area. I was elected personally as the chair of the negotiation body of African Continental Free Trade Area. I'm the one who negotiated. And they were surprised to see that we managed to achieve that in only 1 year. We registered growth.
That's true.
A growth of about almost 6% of the GDP in our economy from 4. So there were a lot of achievements. Factories mushroomed.
Yes.
For example, cement. Cement, we had only 1 factory. We ended up with about 5.
Yes.
So you could see there were a lot of achievements because of my effort as a Minister of Trade, Industry, and I have pride in that.
Yes.
I was also an interim treasurer.
Yes.
I managed to fundraise for the construction of the NRM house. I think it's work in progress. But I managed to raise almost 6 billion.
Nice.
But also I was the chair of NRM district, and everything was so much. I'm multitasking.
Yes, which is still part of your...
This is still part of me. But now, I'm a senior presidential advisor for industry.
As we wind up, Honorable, what keeps you pushing and not giving up?
First of all, I would like to tell Ugandans that if you're holding a position, it's like a game of relay. You should give the baton to the person after you. For example, when I lost elections, people thought, oh, I should have been bitter, I should have gone to court, I should have... But if you have served these people for 10 years, and they have elected somebody else, the world goes on. So I call out to the young people, be patient, you will get there.
That's true.
2, be dedicated to whatever you do. Be loyal.
Yes.
And integrity is key. And you're privileged to have me here.
Yes,
as a super soul sister.
Very privileged, I must say. Indeed, very privileged.
Yes.
And that is why we wanted your story, because your story means so much, even to the people that are watching. What do you love to do?
Of course, I love reading. I love doing research. I love dancing, but now, sometimes you don't know where to go dancing from now.
Yes.
The other time someone was saying they should take me to Chikade. I said, but how do they see me dancing there in Chikade? But I love people also,
yes,
people around
yeah.
me. I love helping people if I can afford it.
If you can, yes.
Yeah. All of you will retire one day.
Yes.
Of course, it came as a shock to me.
Yeah.
I was telling people, you know, every month you are getting this notification of a salary.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden, the notification is not
It's
coming.
not coming.
But now I'm a farmer at the same time. I'm into fish farming. You should always have an alternative, a fallback position. Fish farming, passion fruit growing, and an ecotourism lodge.
Nice.
Yes, I should take you there one of these
Yes,
days.
would love that, yes.
Women empowerment, please forget about Kameza. You know? I don't know why I forgot. You have to work.
Yes.
Don't just sit there and wait for your husband to give you Kameza, money for Kameza. Are you lame?
You just made my
Yes.
my friend here laugh.
What if your husband is not there tomorrow? How are you going to survive?
If not for yourself, for your children.
For your children. Work for your children. So, women in Kameza, please, this is a message for you. Yes. I saw people demonstrating there. Forget about Kameza. This life now, women, we have been empowered. Let us work.
Now, we do appreciate you for watching. Now, all the Super Soul sisters out there, I know you've listened to our Super Soul sister, Honorable Amelia Kyambadde, today. And till next time, my name is Rowena Kajumba. We'll be back here on UBC at Daughters Exclusive to bring you a lot more. Bye.
Thank you so much for having me, Rowena.